Now we know that the recording is in progress. Welcome everyone. It's great to see you here. Thanks so much for joining this session to talk about World Book Day 2025. We are really excited about what's ahead for the campaign peak moment next March. And it is fab to see you here because we absolutely believe and would love to see World Book Day be a brilliant partnership event where all of you are getting involved. So what I'm going to do is take us through a presentation, but what I would also love is for you to ask questions. You can ask them in the chat or you can ask them as we go through. My name is Cassie Chatterton and I'm the Chief Executive of World Book Day. And we also have a few others from the World Book Day team here too. So if I don't know the answer to the question, somebody's going to know the answer to the question, or it will be a question that no one's ever asked before and we need to find the answer to. So please just keep them coming. We're not offended. We like hearing what's on your mind. So by all means, just kind of tell us what you think or what you want to ask. So just going to wave at Kate and Emma and Amy, who are here from World Book Day too. And I'm going to share a screen and take you through our plans for World Book Day next year. Here we go. Thought I'd lost it for a second. So tell me you can see these slides. Got some thumbs up, thank you. And I've made them big. Because World Book Day is nothing if not bold, big, and trying to attract the attention. What we love to do at World Book Day is encourage the fun of reading. And that's what we do on World Book Day, the peak annual event day, 6th of March in 2025. And we do that all year round. And the reason we do that, the reason that's our purpose as a charity, is because it is specifically finding the fun in reading, encouraging that intrinsic motivation to want to read that unlocks all of the benefits that reading can bring. So that's why we are incredibly proud to be a celebration of the enjoyment of reading and to be building World Book Day as a campaign that really addresses what children and families and others think about reading to encourage more of them to do it. And why do we have World Book Day? Why are we needed as a charity? What's our social purpose? Well, because we all know, I think, those of us who are in this room, that reading for pleasure really matters. It is this standout indicator, according to the OECD and others, that can really help a child to overcome socioeconomic disadvantage, to overcome parents' educational status, and then to improve across a range of really important measures. So whether that's well-being and self-esteem, whether it's cognitive and brain development, whether it's learning across the curriculum, not just in English, but in other subjects too, or whether it's just developing those brilliant things that are essential for us all as citizens, empathy, imagination, and creativity. It's reading that can unlock all of that. And as I said, it's reading for enjoyment, finding the fun in reading, finding what you want to read for yourself that unlocks all of those benefits. But that's why it's so troubling that at the moment, only 1 in 3 children are enjoying reading. So reading attainment is holding up, but it's this enjoyment. The fact that 1 in 3 are enjoying reading is really troubling, and what World Book Day is all about trying to tackle. These figures are at their lowest level since 2005, and we know that thanks to the National Literacy Trust amazing data that they've been collecting since 2005 and that they publish every year. So this is data from the 2024 Annual Literacy Survey. And then also thanks to the National Literacy Trust, we know that actually access to books is very difficult for lots of children. So at a time when we know cost of living is incredibly challenging, and that almost 1 million children in the UK don't have books of their own, we can understand this broader context of why it is that children are not reading. And we're also looking at the fact that there is a cross-generational issue here. So the Reading Agency can tell us through their recent survey that 50% of adults don't read regularly. The steepest drop in reading enjoyment is in those older children between 11 and 16. But we also know that it's reading at home and it's reading as part of family life that makes the most difference to children's identity as a reader and to their own kind of engagement in independent reading. So, and parents and carers who enjoy reading themselves are much more likely to establish that as part of family life. It's not the case that people don't understand that reading is important. Book Trust study, talking specifically to low-income families in this case, found that plenty of parents, 90% of the parents, say they know that reading is important, but few of them are actually doing that. And so what we're doing at World Book Day is trying to get into what's behind all of that. What is stopping parents, families, carers, the world around children from not prioritizing reading? And differently, we think what we're doing is looking at the emotional kind of hinterland, the belief system that sits behind all of this. So beyond time pressures, beyond cost of living pressures that we know exist and are obviously feeding into this, what are we understanding about reading in the home and family space? And how can we turn that around to encourage more and more families to see reading as part of family life? But the reason you're all here today, and the reason we're so glad to see you, is because we at World Book Day believe that partners are absolutely essential. We've got a shared mission. We're all here because we know that reading for enjoyment is incredibly important to children's lives, and we're all doing something about that. So we see our world as being part of an ecology. World Book Day has so many different touch points, whether it's booksellers or libraries or publishers or media, other charities, schools and educators, and home and family. We need to make sure that we're networked across this ecology to make World Book Day as effective as it can possibly be. So let me tell you a little bit more about Read Your Way 2025 and what we're exploring this year and what we'll be putting out in the campaign next year. So last year and this year, we've been listening to children's views about reading for fun. And this is where we're getting some really illuminating comments back from children and a proper understanding of what it is that's standing in their way as independent readers who enjoy looking out books, comics, audiobooks, whatever they choose to read for fun themselves. So certainly they're getting distracted by other things like games and screens, but what we're really finding is that children are finding book discovery difficult, particularly in a climate where they're feeling that there's a lot of pressure and expectations around their reading choices. So many children are telling us that adults don't necessarily approve of the things that they want to read, and that because there is such a focus, understandably, on the skills development agenda, many children are getting messages quite early on that they're not a good reader, which then puts them off the exploration and discovery of reading on their own terms. So what we're finding in the whole is that children are thinking that reading is something that they have to do rather than something that they choose to do. And there are many things sitting behind all of this, but really what we want to try and achieve is something that places reading much more in the kind of fun and hobby space, because of course, children, just like adults, are much more likely to read if they think they'll enjoy it. So World Book Day is all about trying to make reading feel entertaining, sociable, a fun thing to do. We put choice and in children's empowerment in what they want to read at the heart of our messaging, at the heart of the campaign. And we try to make it fun for children to be able to express themselves through reading. And really critically, it's that fun and enjoyment that is the unlocker to all of those benefits. Just to say, by the way, that's obviously not a real child. He's an illustration by a brilliant illustrator for this year and last, Vivian Trung, but the comment is from a real child. So we know that World Book Day can really get into that sense of, transforming the way children feel about reading. This year, so there's a piece of research that's going on now and that we will complete in 2025 in time for the campaign. We're talking more in the home space to parents as well as children about those attitudes and behaviours that sit around reading for enjoyment. What we're trying to do, and what we're already finding absolutely fascinating, is to uncover the relationships, the preoccupations, the beliefs that parents and carers have about their children's reading. So it's partly about their own life experiences and their own reading identity. It's partly about the messages perhaps that they're hearing from school. And it's also then about the messages that children are hearing more broadly from the media and, the other brands that they interact with. And one of the things that children are telling us already is that they'd like to see the reading that they like to do be celebrated. So we will, at World Book Day, be sharing and celebrating that reading in all forms at home are valid. It can be a comic, it can be an audiobook. We spoke to a child who loves reading car magazines with his dad. that kind of reading, as long as you're picking it up by choice and you're enjoying doing it, that's what we're all about. Let's find that reading enjoyment. The other thing we'll be thinking about is how we can take a reading and approach. So this isn't about saying that, for example, reading should be done before your screen time. It's thinking about how we can blend reading with everything else that's going on in a children's media and entertainment landscape. So it can be reading and. Children certainly tell us, and they tell NLT and others too, that reading can be something that they love to do as an alternative and as part of their media landscape. So we will absolutely be talking about books, comics, audiobooks, and every form of reading alongside everything else that children are doing. And then as far as we can, encouraging parents to be able to take the pressure off reading. So what we're hearing from parents already is that there's quite a bit of anxiety around just allowing their children to choose. Sometimes there's cost pressures involved, but a lot of the time it's about a sense that what their children are reading perhaps isn't good enough. So what we're trying to be all about is just taking the pressure off, having the shoulders drop around reading, and encouraging parents to feel confident that they can let their children choose what they want to read to develop that reading enjoyment. So here is a little snapshot of what Read Your Way looked like last year, in library spaces, in school spaces, in bookshops. There's a little image there from number 10 as well, a fabulous event that we had with some children there. And absolutely what we want to see are these smiles on children's faces as they're choosing books for themselves, as they're creating little props and costumes that express their reading identity, hanging out with Elma, making drawings, and thinking about World Book Day being something that they can embrace on their own term, because it helps to develop their sense of themselves as somebody who can choose reading for themselves and who can feel confident in themselves as a reader. So we'll be taking that work forward again in 2025. Last year, we did 20 events in areas of low literacy and high deprivation, and where there were a few bookshops around, with libraries matching with schools. And we found those events to be incredibly effective. The evaluation, which you're all welcome to have a look at, it's on our website in the form of our impact survey, showed us that bringing children into this space where there is less pressure to spend and where they can explore reading on their own terms can be really effective. We will also be working with partners, so including the National Literacy Trust again, and Book Trust 2, and Children's Books Ireland in Ireland, to make sure that the £1 tokens and the £1 books are getting directly to children who we think are least likely to have those books at home, who we know are least likely to have those books at home. And we'll also be continuing our work to make sure that the books and a special World Book Day moment gets into the prison system across the country. So what we try to create, and as you can see from the image there, is happening brilliantly now, particularly since some rules have been relaxed following the pandemic, that great kind of celebratory party feel World Book Day spaces can be created in family visiting time, and providing a really special moment again for parents and children to connect around books and reading, forming brilliant memories that the children and the parents can take off, and then to go on and have conversations about books and reading that mean a lot to everyone. So I'm just going to share a video to present to you the 2025 £1 books. Hoping the sound works, I tick the box, so let's see how we go. Not sure. Yeah, so we're really proud of the lineup for World Book Day next year. We hope there's something there to encourage many children who otherwise don't see themselves as readers, don't enjoy picking up a book, can find inspiring and engaging. And many, many thanks to all of the publishers who help us present that extraordinary list every year. The other thing we're really pleased about is that more and more we're engaging children's voices in the choice of those books. So just another little snapshot here from some of the children who were involved in the choice of these books.
We selected books for the World Book Day 2025 campaign.
So we will be making sure that those books get out as far and wide as possible, and also that the Read Your Way messaging gets out as far and wide as possible. What you've got here is some of the authors and illustrators for 2025 showing us how they read their way. And hopefully this shows you how this can be a campaign that can be adapted to be done on your terms too. As long as we're all sticking together with the key messages and the campaign format, what we hope is that you can also make it applicable to your organisation, your activities, and what you're doing to encourage children to read for pleasure. We know that World Book Day is making a difference, which is fabulous. So we know that 1 in 4 primary school pupils are saying that it increases their behaviours that are positive around reading for pleasure, more time to read, finding reading more fun, talking about books and reading, and finding new books to read. Those £1 books really do get out there far and wide and to the children who most need them. Although what we're finding really interesting is that 1 in 4 of the pupils that are surveyed by the NLT who receive free school meals say that the book that they bought with their £1 token was the first book of their own. That's a powerful statistic in its own right. But what we're also finding is that that figure is becoming more equitable with the children who aren't receiving free school meals. So this shows about 1 in 5 of all of the pupils surveyed said that the book they got with their token was the first book of their own. So there's something going on there with the landscape of book ownership. It is broader than cost of living, although of course FSM is just one measure. So with the enormous presence and profile that World Book Day brings, what we're hoping is to see you all getting involved, because we would love to see this impact being shared and us all working together to get even more children, encouraging them all to read, getting even more children involved. And there are different ways we can do that. So first of all, if you would just like to be able to present your activities, your content, your resources to show that you're celebrating World Book Day, please, we'd love you to. You're very welcome. There's a really simple process for signing up to receive the World Book Day logo, the Celebrating with logo, and then the other assets that we can provide to you so that we're all looking together like a cohesive World Book Day campaign. Just register on the website. You just need to read our very simple partnership agreement and click to say that you've read it and agreed it. Fill in the form and then check your inbox for the assets. So the reason we ask you to do that is because, first of all, it's great to see how many of you are signing up to be part of the campaign, and you're also then welcome to kind of share your activities on our website. But also World Book Day is a registered trademark. So we're very happy to see it go out there as a community brand, but we also need to make sure that we're giving you permission to use it. And then another way to work together is to work in partnership. So this is where we're working more strategically, more hand in hand with other organisations to develop interventions and programmes that really get into the depth of supporting children's reading enjoyment. So this would be activities and content that we've developed together and then put out through the World Book Day campaign. So for example, the work we do with National Literacy Trust is in partnership. But then we've also got partnerships developing with others, which I'm not going to talk about right now, but we will be announcing in January. So if you're thinking, actually, there's something that you'd like to do in partnership with us, or you've just got an idea that you'd like to talk through, or you'd just like to have a chat and who knows what might develop, please get in touch. We're always open to that. We love working in partnership. We think it brings so much more impact to what World Book Day can do, and we hope it brings benefits to us all too. So last thing to say is that Communications Toolkit will be coming soon. So I mentioned that the Read Your Way piece of research is in train right now. It is. We then go out into the field with the second part of the research early in 2025. So we will be back with you with key data from that research, some social media assets, some suggested posts and so on in January. So that can be your toolkit to go off and use World Book Day in the way that you choose to work with us. That's it. for the presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can see your faces and we can have a conversation. So I'm just going to have a look in the chat, but by all means come off mute and have a chat. Thanks for showing the impact report. Yes, Holly, we've got an email address on the website, which is hi@wellbookday.com. There aren't so many of us that email is going to get lost. So email there and one of us or all of us will be back in touch with you. It would be great to have a chat. Caroline has asked, do we have any information about secondary school engagement in World Book Day? So actually, because that's quite a live topic, I'm going to pause and ask Kate to respond to that question.
Yes, we do have information about secondary school engagement in World Book Day. It's, as you might anticipate, lower than primary school engagement, but we've been working alongside school librarians quite closely over the last year to look at how that celebration can be applied in a secondary setting in a more strategic way. And we're also talking to secondary school leaders to talk about that engagement a bit more deeply. Because the celebration is lower, we tend to use primary stats when we're using our presentations, but if you were particularly interested in secondary engagement, then I can share those secondary stats with you after this.
Caroline, did you have a more specific question that's behind your question? No worries if you don't. Laura has asked, do we know when in 2025 the Beano Brain research is expected? So to clarify, we work with Beano Brain on our Read Your Way research. So they are our kind of research body. They go out into the field, they do the conversations, the focus groups, they do the omnibus survey with children and families and parents, etc. But it's work that we work hand in hand with them on. So it's the same research that I have mentioned and talked about in this presentation, the one that's kind of getting behind all of those attitudes and emotional kind of beliefs about reading. The omnibus survey goes live early in January. So we definitely would like the reports to be ready by the end of January so that we can start including it in the campaign that then is live maybe 2 minutes later. So it's quite a quick turnaround, but we want to make sure that research is as fresh as it can be for 2025. Would anyone like to make any other comments or ask questions? Our resource packs all went live yesterday. So do go and have an explore. There will very soon be a resource pack for authors and illustrators, but currently there's information there for booksellers, for libraries, for school libraries, and for nurseries, primaries, secondaries. If you think there's something missing, let us know. Ask us the question.
We should also flag that some of the links in the packs aren't yet working, but before Christmas they will be, with the full complement be ready for the Christmas holiday. And Abby, I've just seen your question in the chat. The author and illustrator kit will have some stuff that authors and illustrators can use both on socials and if they're doing live presentations in schools directly. So hopefully that will be useful, but if there's anything missing, like Cassie just said, please do jump in. That'll be live by the end of the week.
And then you will also all have the toolkit. So that's where there'll be social media assets that you can drop into your own feeds. That's where you'll have messages that, you know, we'll provide as guides. You're welcome to either use them verbatim or do a little bit of adaptation to suit what works for your setting. We're in it together. Okay. Oh, that's what an interesting question, Caroline. So Caroline's wondering how many free £1 books are given out compared with a decade ago. It's definitely increased, but I would not be so confident in those figures that I want to just like throw one out there.
I do have a figure. Do you want it? 121,000 are going out this year.
But we don't know.
Oh, as in, sorry, as in the community distribution, or as in the like token, the books they're paid for, Caroline?
I'll just do a little bit of a background. So total. So
We're less clear on that.
we're less clear on that. And the reason being that we don't, or we're hoping to get for 2025 for the first time, the print runs from each of the publishers. So the figures that we have at the moment come through Nielsen's work, the BookScan figures. And we have got those figures going back quite some time, but I just haven't committed them to memory. We know that from what booksellers tell us, the majority of the books that go through BookScan are being given for free in exchange for the token. Sometimes they're just going through the till, not in exchange for a token. Sometimes they're being paid for, but very often not. But then we also make sure that books get out directly to children and communities. And that's been growing and growing and growing. So as Kate said, which is 121,000.
121,000 this year.
That's 15,000 more than last year.
Yeah.
Hot off the press, and really encouraging. So we know that those children are least likely to take that step of going into a bookshop. So we try to build the stepping stone in for them. So it's a complex picture, and the total is quite hard for us to get hold of. But we try to estimate, and we think it's around 2 million in total books that go out. And some booksellers have books left over, but they very often are used throughout the year, even if they're not used on World Book Day.
Karen had a question about, it should be the assets are sent in a link. So check your inbox. It might go into your spam filters. Just check that. If it hasn't, if you message that hi inbox, and we'll send them out to you.
Bye, Isabel.
Thanks, Isabel.
Just going to pause to see if anyone has any other questions. In that case, we might all dash. If something comes to you, either the minute you leave the meeting or in the middle of the night, these things sometimes appear, don't they? Whenever you choose, please get in touch. We're more than happy to have a chat, answer questions, talk things through.